This is LaRonda Boone, and welcome to Destination Jazz. Destination Jazz TV visits exciting vacation destinations that also offer a unique jazz experience. This week, we are live at the Exit Zero International Jazz Festival in the beautiful New Jersey coastal town of Cape May. The Exit Zero International Jazz Festival is the premier jazz festival in New Jersey, featuring phenomenal artists from around the world. Cape May completely transforms itself into a jazz village. We'll visit the historic Congress Hall, chat with the legendary Roy Hargrove and the super talented Kelly Lee Evans, and so much more. This is going to be great. Come, let's see Cape May.
Cape May is just an unbelievable sea town here, you know, at the southern tip of New Jersey. It's an incredible town. It has such a great vibe to it. So people love to come here.
Well, Cape May started out as a whaling town and as a fishing town. It's still the second largest commercial fishing port on the East Coast after Bedford. But the whaling industry collapsed in the early 1800s because whale oil was supplanted by kerosene and other petroleum products as a source of light and energy. And so the economy of Cape May fell apart, but it immediately switched to tourism.
It's just a really cool place, a lot of things to do. It's not too busy and it's not too sleepy either for me. It's just right. Just perfect.
It's a really interesting town. I always say it's like living in two different places without having to move, because the wintertime is really quiet, really intimate, and then in the summertime it's like activity, you know, and hubbub and new people all the time, and so it's interesting. It's an interesting place to live.
Cape May has always been a very welcoming place, a very diverse place. You know, there's fishermen, there's people that own second homes that are pretty fancy houses. There's people that work in hotels, and everyone, because it's so small, is hanging out together. So Congress Hall is the oldest seaside hotel in America, and it dates back to 1816. And it began with a gentleman named Thomas Hughes. His father was the postmaster in town and ran a little tavern on this site right here. And the son said, you know, I want to set up a house, a boarding house where people can come resort. And everyone thought he was crazy. They're like, well, who's going to come here? But he built this property, and he initially called it the Big House. And he was successful. And people came, and he enlarged it. And then in 1828, Thomas Hughes was elected to the U.S. House of Representatives as Cape May County's first congressman. And so they started calling it Congress Hall in honor of his having gone to Washington. Congress Hall has had about six to eight different owners in 200 years. One of the longest was the Knight family, and Annie Knight inherited the hotel from her father. And for us, you know, to tell the story of a place that transcends the generations, it's really heartwarming, you know, and for me, when I took on this project in the mid-90s and was trying to renovate the hotel, and it was in a pretty rundown state, there were a lot of times I wish I could talk to Annie Knight. There have been 4 U.S. presidents that stayed in Congress Hall or visited here through the years. So there's a lot of things that have happened through the years here at Congress Hall.
Really, when we sit down and look at the festival, and what we want to try and do with it is bring as much music, as much different musics as we can to Cape May. Because I really feel like there is a real solid audience of people who have experienced the Jazz Festival in one form or another for many years. And so Exit Zero you're coming down the Jersey, you know, the Jersey Garden State Parkway, and Exit Zero is the last exit into Cape May. It's the end of the road. You're here, you know, and there's places like New Orleans, and there's places like Cape May, I think, and like Amsterdam and like Key West, where you do get to the end of the road and you just find something just a little different, just a little, yeah, something's good here, you know, okay, I'm here, you know, and it's, I hope you know, we're bringing that kind of vibe to the festival.
So there's always been a pretty vibrant restaurant and bar and entertainment scene in Cape May, and the Jazz Festival just complements that.
You get a real special feeling, you know, when you're in the audience and you know, the artist is almost on top of you, and you can really feel the energy going back and forth between the audience and the artist. So that's a real positive. You know, the other part of it is, okay, you know, we're doing some venues in what could have been a restaurant, you know, 3 hours before. So we have to work really hard to try and put our stamp on it and try to put a look to it where it feels like you're in a jazz club, even if you may not be, you know.
Well, these kinds of events help us stretch the season in Cape May. We're a seashore resort. Many seashore resorts have a 10-week season, but Cape May has been really fortunate in being able to leverage the season into nearly year-round by having things like the Jazz Festival. We have this in the spring before the May and summer season. We have it again in the fall. So it's a great way to fill rooms and restaurants.
This term gypsy jazz is what I've been hearing. Can you just tell me, for those of us who don't know exactly what that is and how it differs from what we typically know as jazz?
There's a lot of crossover between gypsy jazz and, you know, American jazz as we know it today, you know, and as we all see, American jazz is kind of taken on different hats, as you might want to call it, but it's kind of moving in different directions, and I think gypsy jazz really kind of helps re-center like a traditional kind of sound, and very much, you know, a testament to the art form that influenced the Europeans that were doing it at the time, which is where it kind of stemmed from.
Daisy, can you tell me how you feel being the lead, the only female, the young female, and the lead working with these guys here? How does that feel for you, and what kind of responsibility do you feel with that?
I very much enjoy it. I try not to, like, you know, boss them around, and apparently I don't, but sometimes I feel like I do, but I guess I don't. I mean, like, it's very nice to be able to have an amount of control, but also be kind of like a family together. So I wouldn't say necessarily that I am the leader of the band. We kind of all, like, we put our own input in, like, with everything, so we're kind of all just like one leading entity.
A lot of the early jazz players, not only were they great players, but they had a little bit of entertainment in them. They tell little stories, and I like to give people a little history about the music, because my whole life is trying to keep the names and the music of these jazz legends out there. Well, those jazz masters of the early years, like King Oliver and later Louis Armstrong and Barbara Miley with Duke Ellington and then Cootie Williams, they all told stories on their trumpets. They could almost say words and move people. I mean, when people were really feeling low, they make some nice little sound on their trumpet plunger and wah 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 wah, you know, and like, whoa, it just lifts you. Some of it's a little fun, some of it's a little sad. It's a whole mixture of different emotions that you can get out of a real expressive jazz trumpet player.
most of the great musicians play by ear. And you know, when you learn things like that, then you never forget it. You don't have to rely on looking at the paper all the time. So it's different ways to do it. You know, we rehearse, we play together so much that, you know, everybody kind of knows each other and can feel each other out, musically speaking. So, you know, we don't have to rehearse as much as we did when we first met.
By my flaming heart, you wouldn't leave me, would you?
I think he has a lot of soul, and he collaborates really well with his band. He has a great piano player, bass player, and a drummer, and they're just great.
What a tone. You know, what a tone, you know, that he has. It's amazing. And so, and he's always been a guy who has always connected with his audiences in different ways. You know, he's connected with them through music that he's really drawn to, whether it's R&B, whether it's some straight ahead stuff, and he's got great taste in music.
Roy has firmly established himself among the premier players in jazz and beyond. The music world would be hard-pressed to find another ambassador capable of traversing the worlds of straight-ahead swinging and the funky underground better than Roy Hargrove.
Sun, beach, and jazz. It doesn't get any better than that. We'll be right back with more.
Exit 0 is the very end of the Garden State Parkway. There are 172 exits from New York all the way down to Cape May. But there is no exit for Cape May. The road simply runs out. 4 years ago, the Garden State Parkway put up a sign that says Exit 0.
This project right now is a project that is like more in the soul, jazzy soul hip hop box, if there is such a box. We've just made it. I think I'm in boxes, but I make my own boxes. A lot of people come to a jazz concert thinking that, you know, it's going to be chill, and it could be chill, but our concerts aren't. So by the time we're finished, the room is elevated. We all feel elevated.
Please welcome to the stage, Kelly Lee Abbott.
She was stunning to me. The depth of emotion that she was bringing in her sets and connecting with the audience was just at a really high level, and it was, I'm not going to say I was surprised, I was really blown away by, you know, where she is as a vocalist now. And just, man, what a sensational talent.
I was over at somebody's house, and this girl was talking about how they'd gone on a school trip to New Orleans with their jazz band. And I was like, jazz? And she was like, yeah, that'd be too difficult for you, Kelly Lee. And I was like, oh, really? So I just took it on myself to learn jazz. And what's so funny is, like, I went from like zero to hero, not hero, but like, you know, I went into the world of jazz in that way. A couple years back now, I met up with that same girl that said that jazz would be too difficult for me. And she was on a film. It was similar to this. We were doing an interview, and she was the one doing the interviewing. But like, it was interesting. And so after we finished, I was like, "Girl, do you remember when you said that jazz would be too difficult for me?" And she was like, "What?" She didn't even remember. On the floor, quick relations and I'm back for more. 3, 4, got me coming quick. Work so sweet and work so slick. 5, 6, I'm a juggernaut. Easily cold, easily bound.
it's good to have something that you can listen to, like jazz, like some very good music that will heal your soul and give you musical food.
We're here at the X0 International Jazz Festival, and I'm standing here with two premier jazz photographers at Cape May's first exhibition for jazz photographers. We have Mr. Richard Conde and Mr. Ernest Gregory.
We're here actually to exhibit photographs that we have actually taken since been photographing the X0 festival, and it all really started out as Ernie and I have been shooting festivals for quite some time, and so we were offered the opportunity by Michael Klein, the festival producer, to display our work, and we just jumped on the opportunity. We thought it was just a great chance to exhibit our work and get a good feedback from the public and just be a part of what this is all about. It's just listening to jazz, seeing what the pictures are about, and we just hope you enjoy it.
It's the same. The music is the same internationally, and you try to capture those moments that convey what the music is about. You know, the essence of the music, the musicians, and the festival. And often they come together.
We feel like we're trying to bring out the beauty of Cape May, but we're not trying to fake it. We're not trying to make it this little gingerbread town. I mean, it has a lot of beautiful things, but it also feels authentic. And I think the Jazz Festival is really an important part of that.
This is Kelly Lee Evans, and you're watching Destination Jazz.
Well, what a ride. And that's the end of this episode of Destination Jazz. Thank you so much for coming along with us on this journey, and we'll see you next time.
We had a wonderful weekend down here at Cape May. It was a wonderful jazz festival, and it just keeps going on and on.
The entertainment was top, just outrageous. It was really so good.
We're definitely going to make this one of our stops on an annual basis. It was fantastic. Music was great.
Good talent.
Great food also.
We're here at the Cape May Jazz Festival. If you haven't come, you're missing out on an insane event.
This has been a fabulous weekend, and we've been coming for years and years and years. And we'll continue.
It's been an amazing weekend. The music, the weather, it's perfect. You know, I encourage anybody, you have time to come to this festival. It's a great destination, great music. It's a win-win all the way around.